Hello students, today I am going to explain you the story Painting the Bridge. This story is written by Subhadra Sengupta. Subhadra Sengupta is a well-known children's writer. She has authored over 25 books for children in genres including comic strips, ghost stories, historical fiction and detective stories. Some of her famous works are Satyajit Ray's Feluda Mysteries, The Criminals of Kailash and Ashoka. Three of her books have won the White Raven Award at the Bologna Children's Book Fair. Now coming to the story, Painting the Bridge. Listen to the explanation. Parvati was humming. After many days she was trying to sing. 9 years old Parvati and her brother Lakshman were going through a tough time as their father was suffering from fever. Even medicine also did not work. Their father was a potter. Without working, they could not survive as they were not rich. So, only way out was Lakshman to make earthen pots and to sell for living. Mother would help them with the potter's wheel and firing the oven to bake the pots. Early in the morning, Parvati and Lakshman walked out of the gates of their city, Patliputra. Instead of street light like nowadays, that time there were oil lamps on streets, and instead of the police with gun, then watchmen with spears used to guard the city. Both the children collected clay from the banks of the river Ganga, made pots, sold them, and earned money with which they bought rice, dal, and vegetable for the family. Then Parvati, she was little bit relaxed. She was sitting and she was drawing. Where she was drawing? She was painting the pots because she knew painted pots sold better. And she was herself making the colors. All she had were the colors black and white that she had made herself. She had collected soot from the lamps in the house and added oil to create black. She had ground some pieces of lime and mixed it with water and made white. And as brush, she was using cotton, and with this she drew her dream. She used to draw on the pots the sky, the bridge, and the song of the birds. Now, suddenly, while she was doing all this, she heard clatter of horses' hoofs and clang of cow bells and the crack of a bullock cart wheels made her look up. Down their dusty lane, bullock carts came swaying. What made her sit up and watch was the rich cloth covering the cart and the bright curtains that were two horsemen riding before it and two behind it. So, what she saw a bullock cart, and it was from its decoration it was clear that someone very special inside that, and four horsemen were guarding the that bullock cart, or the you can say, yes, the cart, bullock cart. A noble lady, I am sure, thought Parvati. So inside she was certain that there was a noble lady. Look at the horseman, he claimed with wide admiring eyes. Lakshman, he also standing beside Parvati, and he was saying, look at the horseman, he exclaimed with wide admiring eyes, because they have never seen it before. So both of them were enjoying the sight. They were magnificent sight. Their short spears glittered in the sun. Across their chest, over the short-sleeved tunics, were the cross straps to carry the quiver of arrows. The broad leather belt was for the sword, and their headbands were tied across their foreheads with jaunty bows. So this was the description of the horsemen. Okay, their spears, they were holding spears, and spears were glittering, and they were wearing a short sleeve tunic. Okay, and there was a quiver with each one to keep arrows. Lakshman suddenly ran back to house calling Parvati, help me carry some of the pots outside. So Lakshman, he was very intelligent. He called Parvati to help him and they carried some of the pots outside. Working quickly, they laid a row of pottery by the side of the lane and waited expectantly as the cavalcade drew closer. Then Lakshman began to shout, Pottery, O noble lady, came and see our pottery. So they were sure that inside there was a noble lady and they were shouting. They were not shouting actually, they were just requesting the noble lady to come out and buy their pottery. Parvati joined in verses, incense holders, lamps, the best pottery in Patliputra, O noble lady. Holding up the pottery, dancing with excitement, they made a huge din. Suddenly, one of the horsemen rode up to them, lowered at angry moustache face, and glared, Quiet, you impertinent fools! Don't you know who is in that cart? So, they were both the children, Parvati and Lakshman, they were dancing in excitement, trying to show their work to the noble lady. Then suddenly one of the horsemen came and started rebuking them and told them to be quiet. No, said Lakshman, how do you know the noble lady doesn't want to buy our pots? So Lakshman was arguing with the horseman and he was saying, how can you say that the noble lady, she is not going to buy our pots? Shut up, growled the soldier. You move back now, or I will let my horse walk all over your pots and smash them to bits. Now he was warning Lakshman that if you do not listen to me, do not obey me, then I am going to destroy all your pots. Don't you dare! Parvati stepped forward angrily. It took me all day to paint them. So she was also retorting. She said, do not do it because I took time. I worked hard and then I painted all the spots. Just then, curtain was twitched aside and a quiet voice said from inside the cart, Go back, soldier. I want to talk to these children. Let them come here. So, just then, they saw the curtain was removing from that cart, and one voice, a very calm and quiet voice, said the soldier to go away and let the children come because the lady was willing to talk to them. The amuse said, Let's see your pots, the best in Patliputra. So she was saying, I want to see the best pots in the Patliputra. As they came closer to the curtain was swept back and they saw a woman sitting leaning against bolster inside the cart with a maid perched behind her. Lakshman held out the pottery towards her as Parvati stood dazzled by what she saw. So it was a really very completely different sight in front of Lakshman and Parvati. Their eyes were dazzled by what they have seen because the lady was, it was clear that she belonged to a very rich family and they were showing their pots to the lady. All her clothes were of the finest cotton. The antariya tied like a dhoti was embroidered all over gold, and long scarf of the uttariya draped across her body and swept over her head was gossamer thin in the shade of dull gold and set with precious stones. So all her means her skirt, you can say antariya and uttariya, the upward covering, everything was very precious. It was made of gold, means it was embroidered or stones, jewelries, and all the things were there in her clothes, attached to her clothes. Parvati had seen noble women in the houses where they went to sell pottery, but never anyone who wore so much jewelry. The karnikas were big gold earrings, and the mekhala was a girdle worn around her waist made of silver chains. Then she wore two necklaces, a kantha, a short string of pearls, and the lambana, a long gold chain down to her waist. At her waist were thick kangans, bangles of gold, and the baju was worn on the upper arms. that glittered with the jewels, and her anklets were intricately designed in gold. "And you little girl," the lady said briskly, breaking through Parvati's daze, "where are the pots you were painting all morning?" So Parvati was completely perplexed, looking at the jewelry that the lady was wearing. And then suddenly she heard the voice of the lady. She was willing to see the pots that Parvati decorated. "I, Parvati, was suddenly covered with shyness. I paint them for fun. You won't like them, my lady." That time Parvati was feeling little bit shy, and she said, I was preparing all those, I was painting all those just for fun. Perhaps you won't like that." "Show them to me, child," the woman said gently. Slowly Parvati laid the plate, the vase, and the water pots before her. Then she stood with back breath as the lady turned them around to study the design painted on them. "I have never seen designs like this before," she said thoughtfully. "What were you drawing?" "The sky," Parvati haltingly. "The sky," the woman laughed. "How can you draw the sky?" Parvati pointed to the row of clouds she had drawn around the water pots and said, "If you draw clouds that's around, it becomes the sky." Then turning, she pointed to the palm tree at the corner of their courtyard. Its leafy fronds were swaying and bending, and said, "That's the bridge." So the lady was studying what Parvati had drawn on the pots. Then Parvati said, "I have drawn the sky as she drawn the clouds." So whatever, if you are drawing the clouds, rest of the things will be the sky. Then she drawn the tree, and as if the tree was swaying in bridge. So she said, "I have drawn the bridge." The lady looked up and gave her a piercing look. "And what's this? Butterflies on the pumpkin flower?" "And this," she pointed to a vase with a carving designed in black and white dots flowing around it. "That's it," Parvati, smiling, beginning to enjoy herself, "is the quail song from the bell tree." "A song, of course." The lady looked amused. How could I not see that?" "Yes, it's like a waterfall of high notes and low notes." So she was asking one after another about the paintings. Then Parvati said that she had drawn the song of the quail also, and she drawn the high note and the low note, and really the lady was very much amused. Carefully the lady laid the pots inside the cart and then asked Lakshman, "How much do this cost?" So she was asking the amount what she would have to pay. Lakshman, the businessman, thought as high as he could and said, 12 panas. These are special pots, my lady." So Lakshman, he was doing the business. He said, "It's 12 panas, and it's these pots are very special, so the amount is little bit higher." The lady and her maid hid a smile. "Pay him, Manjira," she said. The maid took the copper pana coins out of the small bag tucked into her waist and paid Lakshman, and they were paid. "And you," the lady touched Parvati's tousled head, "whenever you draw the sky, the bridge, and the song of the quail bird, bring the pots to my house. I will buy them all." Then her eyes crinkled in a smile. "I think my husband would like them too." She gave Parvati a small copper piece with a carving stamped on it. "Show this at the gate and they will let you in." So she gave Parvati a small copper coin. Actually, that was the, you can say, it's like the gate pass to the royal palace. Okay, and Parvati, Lakshman, they were completely unaware about this. Where do you stay?" Parvati asked, and the maid laughed aloud. When Parvati asked, these children, they were not knowing whom they were talking that time. So she very innocently asked about where where did the lady stay, and the maid laughed. The lady pointed to the soldier, who were all smiling, and said, "Ask them, they will tell you the way." The curtain was swept back as Parvati and Lakshman stood watching, and the bullock cart began to move again. After all this, the lady once again went inside the bullock cart and they started moving. "Thank you, my lady," they called out together. Lakshman asked a soldier, "Where does the lady stay, sir?" So the children, they were very innocent. They didn't understand that they were talking to the queen. So once again Lakshman asked a soldier about the whereabouts of the lady. The man grinned in the big palace. The man laughed. Grinned means laughed, and said, "In the big palace." Then, noticing their puzzled faces, he laughed. "That was Lady Maharani Devi, our King Ashokavardhana's chief wife. You two have just become porters to the royal family." So what did the horseman say? That was our Maharani, and she was the wife of King Ashokavardhana, and you both became the royal porters. Eyes wide in astonishment, their hearts thudding, Lakshman and Parvati turned to watch the bullock cart turn the corner of the lane. So both of them, they were completely astonished, what they have seen, what they have felt, what they have watched presently made them completely astonished. Okay, so they were just looking